going to do a walk along a couple of our swales and round the crater garden today, showing you some of the flowers that have come while in the process the site goes through transition. So what we started off with was just a bare field with very little in it, few species, not much variety. It had been quite badly overgrazed. The ground was quite compacted. We were lucky when we tested the soil, it was pH pretty well neutral, so neither acidic nor alkaline. We created the swales on contour using our bunyip, which is a piece of plastic tubing, a length of wood and a measuring tape, and that way you can find the contours of the land. So you dig a ditch along that contour so that when rain events happen, when the water runs onto the ground, it stays in the ditch because it's all at the same height, all on the same contour. So you can have it penetrate the ground, and as you can see on the swale berm, the plants really thrive. They're looking amazing at the moment. A large variety of grasses have started to come. Some of them are self-seeded, thanks to the birds, and some of them are from seed that we've planted. Here's the Yorkshire fog, looking pretty awesome. Nice volunteer thistle there. And as we go along the swale, you start to see the burdock. This is Takinagawa burdock, which is a variety that's a culinary variety. It's supposed to taste better than your standard burdock. And if you look there, we've also got the fat hen, which is great for a fodder crop, or you can eat it yourself like spinach. It's a really good year for the foxgloves, Digitalis purpurea, of which the wild plant has 4 varieties. So you've got your dark purple, like this one, the volunteer in a pot that I brought with me. You've got white with purple spots, light purple, which we've got here, and albino with yellow spots. So depending on the genetics, on what sort of mixture of genetics, that's the 4 varieties of true foxgloves. Obviously there are lots of varieties which have been bred beyond that, but these are the wild ones. I haven't checked to see if we've got all 4. We might have. We've certainly got 3. The daisies there. Look at that amazing giant thistle. Pretty spiky. This is the swale that we've called the willow swale, because that's where we've planted the Bowles hybrid, which we are propagating by taking cuttings and adding to the row, because eventually that's going to be our fuel for the house and for our customers. There's some red campion there. We also have white campion, bladderwort. I'm not sure if there's any on this swale, but it's around somewhere. And the red and the white will cross-pollinate and you get a pale pink. I'm pretty sure we've got that somewhere. In fact, that might be the paler pink one. I'll show you a darker pink one. There's a bee just heading into the flower there. You tuck in, mate. Lovely. Here the sheep sorrel is just setting seed. I don't know if you've tried it. I think it's really tasty. The leaves taste like a bit like Granny Smith peel, so quite tart and juicy. The first year we were here, this is our third summer now, second year. The first year we planted all the remnants of seeds that we had, that we brought with us. So lots of cabbage and broccoli, and the purple sprouting broccoli did amazingly well. It was awesome. We had that to pick for months and months, and we were giving loads away as well. But it doesn't seem, it did set seed, but it doesn't seem to have come back. So it's a shame. But it's okay, we've planted lots more. See, maybe that's a darker pink than the other one. Beautiful. The pollinators love it, of course, which is great for our system. The more habitat that we can create, the better, because eventually we would like to get some bees, maybe in a year or two's time. And there's good old dock, which unfortunately I think I'm going to have to dig out, because I'd like to leave it until the dock beetle have had a good old feast, but we really don't want that setting seed and proliferating. It's we've got enough of that, thanks. Don't need any more dock. It was mostly dock and creeping buttercup when we first came. You can see now, look at that sea of grass. Not much buttercup in there now, which is great. That's happened quite fast. So the buttercup is finding its place now, rather than taking over. Some more lovely foxgloves there. Beautiful. And they flower for ages. There's a little sycamore there. That's probably going to have to go elsewhere. But that's okay. We can change things as and when we need to. That's the great thing about it. You can tweak it. There's a lot more of the sheep sorrel there. Yay. It contains oxalic acid, so ideally don't eat too much of it, but if you eat it with dairy, that's best. Some more of the Takinagawa burdock. It's quite pretty, structural, elegant, edible root and leaves. Daisies, of course, which are lovely, perennial, edible, hardy. More red campion. Lots of willow. And here's some of the red campion that's already set seed. So we're getting a succession of it through the spring and summer, which is nice. Interesting little grasses in there. And the water in the Swale ditch here is just from the rain recently. Everything's going to fly up now. It's been fairly dry. There's one of the dark foxgloves. What's the word? Oh yeah, foxglove. And here we're just approaching the end of this swale. Look at that one. It's gorgeous. And all the willow behind. And the rain's coming on. So if there's wet on the lens, I do apologise. Here's the pond, the retention pond. The overspill at the end of that swale. And this, I think, is chicory, which hasn't flowered yet. Beautiful flowers, a lovely shade of purple. Looking forward to seeing them again. And then we start on the berm at the back of this pond, the willow pond. The plantain is setting seed. It's all edible. It's good for treating rashes. You crush that up. You can use a pestle and mortar, or you can crush it in your hand, or you can chew on it until it's nice and moist, and then apply it as a poultice onto the affected area. It takes away the stinging. It's good for nettle stings. Little moth fluttering about in there. Indeed. And this is one of the cover crop seeds that we planted. That's mustard. You can see that's edible, sort of mustardy, peppery leaves. That's all setting seed, so hopefully that'll be perennialised now and give the good old buttercup something to think about, a bit of a challenge. Keep finding things that are new to me. I'm not sure what that is, but it's great. It's great as a learning process for me, finding out about new plants. As the site develops, it's lovely. So this is all round the back of the pond berm. Some red clover. And here is the crater pond, the crater garden in the rain, which is quite mesmeric. I see all the plants loving that rain. Well, I don't mind the rain, but the camera might have other ideas, so I think I'll have to come back later when the rain has eased a bit. It is lovely to be out in it. It's so refreshing. It's not cold at all. So here we are back at the crater garden where we finished just now before rain stopped play. It's still spitting a little bit, but we'll see how we get on. I've come round the other side of the crater garden to show you some of the plants over here. Some amazing Phycelia, but it's perennialised in our system now. We planted the original seed, but keep finding it everywhere because the birds have picked it up and taken it elsewhere from where we originally planted it. And somewhere hiding here, oh there's one, is some of the rhubarb that I planted back in April, I think it was. Come on rhubarb, where are you? Oh, there's some. It's all hiding under this very wet Yorkshire fog. So that seems to be doing okay. It's surviving. This is its first year, so I'll definitely not be picking any this year. Might take some next year, but probably not. And let it really establish so that the crowns become strong and healthy. Got plenty of other rhubarb to pick anyway that's a bit older than that. So you can see all the clover down here on the path next to the pond. Filling in all the gaps now as it becomes more established. Some very wet Yorkshire fog there. If you walk through that, you get wet, but it dries. Some more clover. Some more chicory. The daisies. That's the view there down to Loch Watton. The crater pond is a really lovely place to come and chill out and enjoy the view. Some more mustard. And the little ecosystem in the pond is just starting to develop. It's still got some blanket weed in there, but hopefully as the other plants grow in, that will eventually disappear or become much less. And I wish I could remember what this plant is here. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not bog bean, because that's what I thought it might be. You see the little purplish blue flowers on that. Just next to some duckweed. And the marsh marigold at the back there, that's past its prime now. It could probably have a second flush if we deadheaded it, but we haven't, and that's okay. And at the back there you can see the borage from last year. Planted that last year. That's looking really well. Beautiful. The bees are very happy with that. There's a few more plants here that I'm going to be adding to the mix. There's a couple more. There's a couple of globe artichokes, and this one. This is purple coneflower, Echinacea purpurea. I wanted to show you this globe artichoke from last year. So that's overwintered there on the berm, very happily. I'm in two minds whether to harvest it now to eat it or let it flower. I think there's a couple more here that have also survived, overwintered. And we might just sample one of those and enjoy that fresh globe artichoke. This is Asturian tree cabbage. It's a semi-perennial, which I've been desperately picking the flowers off because I'd like it to keep growing, not to go to seed. And it's we're having a bit of a battle over it at the moment, as you can see, because it really wants to put flowers on. I planted two, and this is the one that I've allowed to set seed. There's going to be lots of seed on that, and then I'll be establishing that elsewhere on other burns. It's really good animal fodder. Well, it's perfectly good as human fodder for that matter. It's a decent cabbage, it's tasty. You can eat it fresh or you can make kraut with it. It's good. Some Yorkshire fog blowing through it. Up there, we've got some leeks, which are just putting on scapes now. Might let them set seed. Might eat them. Let's find out eventually. More Phycelia. Giant big thistle there. Oh, this pink flower here, that starts off as a little spear and then opens out, sort of vetch type plant, that's sainfoin. She's grown as a fodder crop. Again, it's great for pollinators. It's very pretty. So we've got quite a lot of that dotted about. Again, hopefully that has now become part of the system. That's perennialised and we won't need to sow the seed again. Unless we choose to spread it intentionally elsewhere. I might put some on the top swale because I'd like that to be particularly decorative and attractive for customers, because that'll be their view. You can see the pods there in the background looking down towards the loch. Oh, what's this one? Could be mullein. Answers on a postcard. What I usually do, anything I'm not sure of, I take a photo and I put it on my Plant ID app, and then I make a judgment as to whether I think that's right, because often they are not right. And then I ask on my Facebook group for help, and there's lots of experts there happy to help and share their knowledge and their expertise, which is fab. Can you make out those little flowers there? That's either turnip or radish that has flowered and is setting seed. Not sure. Interspersed with the borage and the grasses and the Phycelia and the clover and the buttercups and everything else. You can hear the curlews in the background. So that's the crater pond viewed from above. Looking very lush after the rain. So in around 2 years we've got an emerging, diverse polyculture